The fundamental question we are trying to ask and answer is, were they people-centered protests, or was this just an elite sort of conversation that was happening through the public participation?
We know that protest is the highest form of democracy, in a sense that it's a purest form of democracy. Let me change that. As a politician, is it the smart thing to call for protest when you know that majority of the population don't really understand how government, especially in Africa, how government is working and how difficult for government to accelerate the different policies that we want to make in place in order for them to look, to execute whatever they do. Do you think like Odinga is playing the card of the victim and trying to incite violence in the country, or he has some legitimacies?
I believe that the protests today in Kenya are as a result of the pain and disconsideration that the government has been doing on the people, and the fruits of their actions are what led people to do what they did today. I always get so disheartened when people are asking, is Raila being selfish by doing protests? Is Raila being self-centered or anything? Raila does not owe Kenyans anything. The man has lost a lot in his life, especially fighting for Kenyans.
It's like the universe has aligned. The will and the voice of the people, and also their needs, has finally aligned with the needs of the political class. We can say that now. It's usually that the politicians want us to go out in the streets and protest, but we don't have a reason to protest. But at this time, the prevailing economic situation in Kenya affecting everyone, whether you voted for this government or whether you didn't vote for it.
Today, my heroes are all the people who went to the streets of Nairobi and everywhere around Kenya. Those are my heroes. My heroes are the brothers and sisters in South Africa who went to the streets.
Yes, the cost of living is high. It's unmanageable. Unga could come lower. All those things that have been talked about. But then the question is, might the opposition, in my view, be pushing too hard their own agenda such that they are blinding or they are refusing to listen to the voice of reason?
We all know that the so-called middle class of Nairobi, most of them were at home. People who are working, people who have salaries, most people were at home. We know that it is the poor person mostly who normally goes to the streets. I wish for a day where we can actually, all of us, dress up and go to the streets, where we can have the police lining up and telling us, you know what, you are protected by the Constitution. This is the way. We want to have stations of food and water for the demonstrators.
If we were in the ideal situation, then we would never ever need to have any protests because there are systems and structures that are created through which we can present our issues, and therefore we don't need to end up in the streets. The reason being, there is an impression that is created when matters go out of the street, just like in a family. When you're told not to wash your dirty linen in public.
The government knew there was going to be a demonstration. I would expect President Ruto to actually go out and protect our people. That would be statesmanship. We had Gachagua speaking from both sides of his mouth. Our deputy president is the undoing of this government.